It's just before 3 in the afternoon. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, police respond to an apartment after a grandmother calls 911 to report that her grandson has shot his own father. Inside officers find 47-year-old Corey Williams Sr. suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. First responders attempt life-saving measures, but the victim is pronounced dead on scene a short time later. Officers then begin assessing the situation and talking to witnesses. Police quickly identify the suspect as 18-year-old Corey Williams Jr., the victim's own son, who is already missing from the scene. As officials gather information, they learn that the suspect allegedly fled with his mother and siblings. Police locate a firearm near the body described in the report as a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Investigators note 11 shell casings scattered throughout the apartment. Moments later, officers holding the scene notice something unexpected: documents that appear to be an emergency custody filing the father seeking to take custody from the mother who had recently lost her housing. Keep this in mind for later. About 2 hours pass before the suspect is tracked down at another family member's apartment and confronted by U.S. Marshals. Corey Jr. is taken into custody and escorted to the police station, where detectives have plenty of questions for him. Corey tells detectives that his father kicked him out of the apartment just 2 weeks before the shooting, a detail that immediately piques investigators' interest. He goes on to explain that he and his mother had come to the apartment that day to pick up his younger siblings after a custody dispute had brought the family to a breaking point. Detectives now want to know exactly what happened when his father walked through the door. Corey admits to shooting his father during the altercation, but detectives continue pressing for more. They confront him with new information. The 11 shell casings and wound locations suggest his father may have been shot while already on the ground. Corey's account and the physical evidence are not fully aligned. Corey ends the interview and is booked into jail for second-degree reckless homicide and use of a dangerous weapon. Detectives then bring in Corey's mother, who allegedly escorted him away from the scene. She tells investigators that she had come to the apartment to retrieve her children and that the father had allegedly forged her signature on custody documents, which is what prompted the confrontation in the first place. The children had been temporarily staying with their father while she searched for a place to live. After the mother's account breaks down under questioning, detectives confront her directly with information they say doesn't add up. Court records show Corey later accepted a plea deal and pleaded guilty to homicide by negligent handling of a dangerous weapon. He was initially sentenced to 5 to 8 years in a state correctional facility, but the judge stayed the sentence and instead imposed 5 years of probation, sparing the teenager years behind bars. What can we take away from this? First, custody disputes can escalate into life or death situations with terrifying speed. This family's conflict over children and housing did not start with violence. It started with paperwork, phone calls, and a knock on a door. The moment a dispute involves contested custody, forged documents, and a history of domestic violence, the risk level is dramatically elevated for everyone involved, including the children. Second, 11 shell casings tell a story that one cannot easily explain away. Corey's self-defense claim rests on the idea that his father presented an imminent threat. Under Wisconsin Statute Section 939.48, self-defense requires a reasonable belief that deadly force was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. The physical evidence, the number of shots, the location of wounds, raised questions prosecutors could not ignore. The plea to negligent homicide reflects that complexity. Third, fleeing a scene after a shooting does not help a self-defense claim. It does the opposite. Remaining calling police and cooperating immediately is the single most important thing someone who acted in genuine self-defense can do. Leaving with family and waiting 2 hours for U.S. Marshals to find you is the kind of behavior prosecutors point to when they argue the shooting was not as simple as the defense claims. Fourth, a parent's legal disputes become a child's lived reality. Corey Jr. was 18. His younger siblings were present in that apartment. They heard those gunshots. They watched their brother get arrested. The custody battle that brought them all to that apartment that afternoon was not abstract. It was their daily life. Whatever the legal outcome, that is the part that does not go away. And finally, the judge's decision to stay the prison sentence deserves honest examination. Corey Williams Jr. pleaded guilty to causing his father's death. His father's mother, the grandmother who called 911, and the rest of that family must now live with the outcome. Judicial discretion to consider youth and complexity is legitimate and important. Whether 5 years of probation adequately reflects the weight of a human life is a question the legal system leaves open. It is a question worth sitting with.